Hey everybody, this is Luke, and this is my presentation through Screencast-O-Matic on our crisis management project. Now, there were a lot of press conferences relating to criminal justice available on YouTube. The problem that I was finding is it was difficult to find one because a large portion of the time they're fairly serious. But it was because of that. It was difficult to find a press conference that was in 10 minutes or less. So through some, I guess you could say, navigational tricks going through YouTube, I found this particular one, which focuses on what is not entirely a crisis per se, or at least not in the way that we look at a crisis, but something serious that is enough of an issue to be brought up in a press conference. And as you can see, it's titled Comprehensive Criminal Justice Reform Press Conference. Now, this press conference is being given by Senator Sonia Chang Diaz, and it focuses on, specifically in the criminal justice reform, on the economic effects of incarceration and how that affects where the taxpayers' monies go, and ultimately how it affects the community as a whole, and how it affects the community by where their tax money is going, how much of their tax money is going, where that money could be going elsewhere, and it just discusses the statistics of it. And this video itself is not particularly long. It's only 3 minutes and 3 seconds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it first so that you're able to hear, and I hope you are able to hear. I will have the link to this video. Aside from the Screencast-O-Matic, I'll have the actual YouTube link so it can be looked up for yourself. But it's a little bit on the quiet side. But what I'm going to do, like I said, is I'm going to play it first, play it all the way through, and then we'll bring it back and we'll discuss some of the finer points in between.
Everyone. We know that mass incarceration has been hugely expensive for taxpayers, with virtually no return on that investment. Prisons are expensive, as you've heard this morning, to the tune, shockingly, of over $3,000 a year per inmate. That's a bill that you pay, and you pay, and you pay, and I pay, and everybody pays every single day. And I ask you as taxpayers,
Okay, so that was the press conference, or at least the part of the press conference as far as Senator Chang Diaz's part in it. Now, as I stated previously, this discusses not crisis in the terms of like we would normally think of a crisis in criminal justice, or at least from the point of view that I was originally looking for, which is things like a murder or a manslaughter or an act of terrorism or something like that. Yet at the same time, in a different way to look at it, it kind of does fit the bill for a crisis involving criminal justice, albeit it's not one as serious as an act of terrorism, but serious in terms of the economy and specifically community economics. Now, as I stated previously, that was the presentation, and now we're going to discuss specific points in the presentation, and I'll replay those specific points as well. Before we get into that, let's talk about the basics of what we know in terms of what you would say in terms of leadership, if you will. Very often what we've been looking at is, in this class so far, we've discussed concepts of management versus leadership. And one of the requirements for this project and in this presentation is looking at, from the point of whoever's leading the press conference, the way that they're leading it. Senator Chang Diaz is very obviously leading from the front on this. She's discussing this not in a matter of, I guess what you would call, for lack of a better term, panic awareness, but discusses it from a down-to-earth, down on the floor with everyone else view, as not only a senator, but as a tax-paying citizen and as a member of a community. And she discusses it as a taxpayer, the issues of incarceration and the money that's going into it. She discusses it not as somebody who's at the top of a mountain, but someone who is just as well, again, as a tax-paying citizen, who's just as much a part of it. You know, her tax dollars are going forward with it just as much as everyone else is. So it's very interesting in light of something that would be considered a crisis press conference. She does it from a light perspective. Not light as in apathetic, but light as in not in a panic awareness type of format. She discusses it in a straightforward, and this is how it is. So now we're gonna listen to specific pieces and we're gonna discuss them as well. Okay, so let's start from the beginning.
We know that mass incarceration has been hugely expensive for taxpayers, with virtually no return on that investment. Prisons are expensive, as you've heard this morning, to the tune, shockingly, of over $3,000 a year per inmate. That's a bill that you pay, and I pay, everyone pays every single day. And I ask you as taxpayers, doesn't that make you mad?
Yes.
And we know that mandatory minimums do not reduce crime. A report from this year from the nationally respected Brennan Center for Justice found that, and I quote, the effect of increasing incarceration on the crime rate for the last 15 years has been effectively zero. For some perspective.
Okay, so let's discuss it from there. Again, Senator Chang Diaz takes a calm and cool approach to this press conference, and she simply just discusses the facts. We see it from the beginning, and of course supported by evidence, so it's not just a matter of, another politician is on the soapbox making a stand about something. She openly states, with evidence behind her, about the price of incarceration. And the price of incarceration is very high. Is our correction system necessary? Of course it is. But that's the necessity for the correction system is not what is, for lack of a better term, on trial here. It's the need for reform, and basically stating that what we have in place at this current time needs to be adapted or amended, if you will. Adding to that point further, she discusses that the methods of our incarceration, or the specifics of our incarceration at this current time, are not having the desired effect that they should. thus furthering even more that there's room for improvement. So let's continue a little bit.
For some perspective on the size and the scope of the imbalance in our budget, consider the fact that in 2012, Department of Corrections annual operating expenses began to surpass the total operating budget for our Department of Early Education and Care here in Massachusetts. Our state is now spending more money to incarcerate its citizens than to educate them early on in life. And I ask you again, as taxpayers, doesn't that make you mad? Yes.
So here once again, she displays the evidence that she has at hand that furthermore, on the topic of minimal sentencing not doing the trick, the incarceration methods itself not doing the trick, she's going on to discuss with the community that she's speaking with that the price of incarceration in terms of what a taxpayer pays towards it is now surpassing early childhood education. And again, I love the way that she's doing this from a leadership standpoint because, as I said before, she's not doing it in a panic awareness format. She's not doing it to incite, oh, everybody, look at this crisis that we're facing right now. No, she's simply stating the facts, and she's even asking everybody, doesn't this make you mad? Doesn't this make you feel that there is a need for a change? That there is a need to have what we have in place improved for the better. So let's continue on a little bit.
What's more, given the fact that nearly 40% almost, of inmates in Massachusetts reoffend in some way when they are released, we know that what we're doing right now in our correction system is simply not working. We need to listen to those communities most affected by violent crime. I want to ask you another question. Who here knows someone personally who has been affected by violence or by crime?
And I think that's a good place to stop. Now here, once again, she's speaking to the community. Now this project also focuses on stressors that come from crisis. And where we stop there is the perfect pinpoint to discuss that. As a member of the community, not just as a senator, she is a person, and you can see right here from where we stop, she is a person who has been affected by violent crime in her community. And she's asking others who are in the press conference, members of the community, who's all been affected by violent crime. So the stressor itself doesn't belong on the leadership. The stress of what's at hand and what's being discussed falls on the community. And the whole point of this press conference is for her, as her position in leadership, to go, I understand exactly what's going on, and believe me, as she stated numerous times, she understands that there is most definitely a need for change. There is most definitely a need for, as the title of the video describes, a criminal justice reform. With that, I can't honestly say that I would make any changes to the press conference presentation that she has given. She has spoken clear and concise. Every point that she made, she discussed with evidence, including quoted evidence, and she's speaking, even though she's a senator and she's speaking from the leadership position, she's also speaking as a person who is in the community. She's speaking as an everyday person. And she's talking to everybody else who is not a part of government and gauging how they feel as well. And she feels exactly the way that they feel. As a leader, it's so important to get down on the ground level and be a part of those that you represent. And I think she did this excellent. So I hope this presentation was informative. I hope it was enjoyable. And let me know what you think.